Hey everyone, James here, the EDC Farmer. Today I'm doing my review of this little knife, the WE Knives Mini Synergy, specifically the upswept Tonto. So let's get into it now. Today we're in the greenhouse, so that'll be the backdrop for this review of the Mini Synergy. So first off, it is a small knife, almost the exact same size as the CRK Mini Sebenza. I'll put the numbers up here on the screen so you can see just how close this thing is. It is a titanium integral with a 20 CV blade that is either available in this kind of upswept Tonto or an upswept almost Persian style blade with a particularly small flipper. We have a pocket clip that is stylized after the ball bearing style clips, but it is not a true ball bearing clip. More on that later. With it being an integral, there's not a whole lot of screws to the construction of this. We've got the screw there for the lock bar insert. We have a screw at the back for the clip, and then we have a screw on the pivot. And then let's see if we can get it in the shot. Yeah, you can just barely see. If you look at the top corner that I'm tapping over here, you can just barely see a little bit of what looks like a scratch on the upper part, and I will circle it for you in the video. When you remove the pivot screw, there's actually a door, in essence, that you can remove right here on the frame to give you access to the bearings and some of the internals. But that'll be covered more in the more in-depth review I do later. So, kind of initial impressions. First off, the action on this thing is really, really good. One of the difficulties for myself with really small knives like this, sub 3-inch blade, is my fingers with my large hands. I wear an XL glove, and for reference, I can palm a basketball, so my fingers are more long and slim in terms of the XL size. The action is quite good snapping open, but if you put pressure on that lock bar, it will prevent the knife from opening because the pressure is significant. When your fingers are not on the lock bar insert or lock bar, the detent is quite good and quite snappy, so you don't fail it. The only time I've been able to actually fail it is by deliberately using my thumb or applying a very minor amount of pressure at the base of the lock bar. I've found personally for myself with larger hands that it's easier to deploy by holding it in the palm of my hand with the back of the handle against my palm so that my fingers can rest away from the lock bar insert and utilize the clip as well, and then using the palm of my hand and the force of gravity to make it a little bit easier for deployments. If your hands are a little bit smaller, that might not be an issue. We have jimping here on the back of the integral frame, which this is, as I mentioned earlier, my first ever integral titanium knife, so I'm really excited for that. I like how the lock bar relief cuts right here, or the lock bar cuts, match the jimping elsewhere on the frame, so we get that kind of consistency of design in those 4 places. Along the back of the frame, it's quite smooth and quite comfortable. All the edges are very well chamfered and rounded. We have this really nice tactile without being harsh texture all the way up and down both sides with this micro milling, and I really like how it looks. There's a little bit of jimping on the flipper tab, which helps you get a hold of it. And then the spine of the blade is obviously it's wider and then it narrows out with this nice swedge up here, but the spine of the blade is crowned the entire length of it, which is a nice and somewhat surprising feature that I was not expecting on this knife. And I'm a big fan of that. So in terms of actually using this knife, because as a farmer I use whatever tools I have quite a bit, I've been really impressed. So with the crown spine, it's very easy to choke up and to utilize the tip of that Tonto for very controlled, very precise work. But also with the edge that WE Knives gives this out of the factory. And it's a reasonably thick knife. I wouldn't call it super thick or super thin, but it's a good enough size that I'm able to quite easily pierce and push through very precise cuts. A lot of what I do on the day-to-day is trimming and pruning different crops, especially things like tomatoes, to help them be healthier and more productive. And so the ability to choke up very easily, gripping the knife, and then having that finger placed right behind that tip makes it very easy to just do little straight push cuts, and it's been very, very, very beneficial for that type of work. The overall like standard kind of belly edge that you would expect on your standard drop point style blade is also quite effective, and I've found good success with that in standard cuts that you would expect to use belly and a drop point for. The pocket clip, I mentioned I was going to touch on real quick. A lot of the reviews I've seen on it complain about the pocket clip being difficult in and out of the pants. I've not personally found that to be the case. I understand where they're coming from with it, but the tip that I would give if you do have one of these, or if you intend to pick up a Synergy model, is to, as you're inserting the knife into your pocket or pulling it out, use your pointer finger to very gently lift up and apply pressure up on the pocket clip. It doesn't take much, and that makes it very easy for the clip to release your pocket and to draw out without any damage to the pocket. But it also allows the strength and rigidity of the pocket clip to be your friend in preventing the knife from being removed from your pocket inadvertently. So yeah, I'm a really big fan of this. I really like the action. Like I said, the blade shape is very good. The ergonomics are fantastic. Every section of this knife is well thought out. There are no true hot spots in the hand. You can choke up on the flipper tab even if you need to. It's a very functional blade, and I think it's a very elegant and visually appealing design. But yeah, that's my initial thoughts after 24 hours. Stay tuned, and I'll give a more long-term, in-depth review when I've used it more. Thanks for watching.